Tonight in the Fanatic Forum, we're going to do a deep dive into Marvel's Echo, which is currently streaming on Disney Plus. Is it worth checking out? Where does it set up this relatively new character in the future of the MCU? And is it going to set up future series coming up in maybe the next couple of years or so? We're going to deep dive into that, new Marvel comics, and all kinds of other new comic stuff, new Marvel announcements for MCU, and a whole lot more. And we're going to do that right after this. Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Buehler. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far here. I forgot to announce a couple of weeks ago on the last episode, we are doing something a little different here. We're changing up formats a bit. So no longer will I be a weekly series. I'm now going to be every other week. So you get 2 episodes a month on the Fanatic Forum, or at least maybe if we've got 5 weeks, maybe we'll end up getting 3 weeks, 3 episodes. Anyway, so just nothing in particular, just stuff with the shop and whatever else. So I was like, need to slow down just a wee bit here. So basically, we'll be bringing Fanatic Forum and all kinds of good stuff coming up to you every other week here. So still be live Fridays at 7 p.m. Unless you very change about that, but yeah, otherwise, same bat time, same bat channel, just not weekly. So yeah, totally forgot to mention that. So if anybody wondered where I was last week, that's why I should have said something about that. Anywho, so hope everybody had a good week so far here. Like I said earlier, we are going to dive into Marvel Studios Echo, which is currently streaming on Disney Plus. It's a 5-episode series, and just because it's a relatively new character, they dropped it all at once, so it wasn't a weekly sort of thing like that, or any kind of release. They just gave it to us all at once, so that was very handy there. Anywho, lots of new MCU announcements. Obviously, everybody knows what's going to happen with Daredevil, Deadpool, and Wolverine coming July 26th. We had a Super Bowl commercial. That trailer has been viewed cajillion times right now. It's super duper viral and everything like that. So yeah, very impressive. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's just kind of a little teaser, tip of the iceberg thing. Like we just got a little glimpse of Wolverine. But at least we kind of got things set up there. The TVA employs Deadpool to do what? I don't know, but yeah, that's that's a problem right in itself there. But yeah, Deadpool, Wolverine, July 26th. Yeah, that's going to be huge. Cannot wait for that one. Some other Marvel announcements that came out for MCU stuff here. We've got a little bit of a switcheroo here because we were expecting Thunderbolts to come out in July, and then, of course, the Fantastic Four was going to be coming out in May, but did a little swap around here. So now we're expecting Thunderbolts May 2nd, 2025. We have yet to see a trailer in that one, but I've got a feeling that's going to be coming fairly soon. But then they made the big announcement for our cast here. And first off, let's talk about this logo here for what they're dropping for Fantastic Four, again, coming out July 25th, 2025. That's a very 60s looking logo there. It just has that kind of feel to it. And then this picture was released here actually on Valentine's Day here with the full cast announcement here. So first, Vanessa Kirby, who I'm mostly familiar with her over the last couple of Mission Impossible movies, where she's the new arms dealer kind of taking over for Max. So, but yeah, really good actress. Really enjoy her. So she will be portraying Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn, who most people know him from the last season of Stranger Things as Eddie, he will be portraying Johnny Storm. That's a great pick there. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. A lot of people are kind of, a little bit, I don't know about him, yada, yada. It's like, I think Reed's going to be great. For me, the challenge is that there's sometimes in the comics, Reed can be unlikable because of the fact that he's super duper smart. He's driven to solve the problem, save the world, invent the thing, whatever the case may be. That sometimes he forgets to hang with the family, to eat, to whatever else, and sometimes his emotions are kind of a little cold and calculating. Because he's super smart, he's kind of 10 steps ahead of everybody else. So there have been a lot of times. Now, granted, there's been a lot of early Fantastic Four stuff where he's very fatherly and very kind of warm, but there's been other portrayals of Reed where he's had to make some really tough decisions here. So I'm curious to basically how they're going to make Pedro at times unlikable because everybody loves Pedro. And then lastly, Evan Moss Backrack will be portraying Ben Grimm. Let's see, he's been, of course, a lot of people know him from The Bear, but also he was microchipped on the Netflix Punisher series. So this is technically his second Marvel role. So yeah, very exciting about that one. But yeah, just the costumes there have a very 60s look to them. You got the white boots there, and you got like the all blue suits except for in the logo. And so yeah, it's just really got a lot of people asking, like, is this going to be set during the 1960s, or is this going to be sometime in the past? There's just a lot of questions about whether. Of course, no one's answering anything right now. Of course, the heavy rumor is that the villain will be Galactus for the first film. Doom may make an appearance like in a stinger scene, but ultimately he will not be in the whole film. I hope that they're not going to try to do kind of one and done with Galactus. Like, the original appearances of Galactus from basically Fantastic Four issue 48, 49, and 50, that was like a 3-part storyline. Why not make a trilogy, with the Fantastic Four and have them, really making Galactus a major, villain and, being a big problem, or, maybe 2 films, something like that, but just don't make it a one and done kind of movie. Javier Bardem is the top rumored casting choice who they're pursuing for Galactus. That's a very interesting choice. I really enjoy Javier Bardem, but he would not have been my first pick, but that's very interesting. Of course, he's got a very distinct voice, and he's very good, powerful actor. So yeah, well, I'm hoping he's not a giant cloud in this one. That he's actually a big dude in a purple suit, and larger than a planet, and piloting a giant spaceship that is capable of sucking dry any large body planets. Obviously, the Silver Surfer will be making an appearance as well, but they're still casting on that one there. But yeah, that's just the big rumor, and it's come from a very credible source that Galactus is going to be our villain for the first film. So I was like, all right, we'll see here. Got a couple of comments up here. Seth Moore, what's up, brother? Good to see you, sir. And Seth Moore is the co-host for the Smokes and Road Beers podcast, which streams on Facebook and Rumble, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. So definitely check them out. I like to have a little more fun. Of course, they have fun too, but they also have some more adult conversations than I do. So definitely enjoy them here. So enjoy that. Also, it says if they're using Galactus, he should be the big bad for this MCU phase. Yeah, like I said, maybe it's kind of setting him up for later on or something. I mean, like, apparently the word still is they're sticking with Kang. A big heavy rumor is that John David Washington is who they're looking to replace Kang, Jonathan Majors as Kang. If that's the case, I'm 100% down for that because I love John David Washington. So yeah, we shall see how that goes. But yeah, Galactus definitely should be a major villain in an MCU phase. I 100% agree with that. At least this is maybe an introduction, or we get in the initial interaction with him in the 1960s. They somehow drive him off, and then he comes back, perhaps in the modern day. But again, I just there's a lot of questions with this Fantastic Four film, and this logo has just spurred so many of them now, and it's got a lot of people excited that perhaps we're going to see a 60s era Fantastic Four movie. So we shall see. I don't know, but yeah. Basically, right now between the Deadpool Wolverine trailer and the Fantastic Four cast announcement, there is a lot of renewed excitement in the MCU now. So I'm here for that. Okay. We've got some new comics to talk about this week here, and I've actually got a good stack here. I've had about 8 books this week here. Because we had a really good week of stuff, and next week is going to be killer. So probably, since it won't be on next week, it'll be the week after. I'll probably have 2 weeks worth of good stuff to talk about here. But first off, we got one selection from Marvel this week. The second issue of Vengeance of the Moon Knight. Of course, Jed McKay is still in the book here. Alessandro Cappuccino is a fairly new artist who's literally, he just kind of just come on the scene. Marvel grabbed him and said, "Hey, you want to do a Moon Knight book, kid?" And this is his first regular series. So very impressive art. Got a much darker feel to the previous run here. But yeah, the mystery is still, who is this Moon Knight here? The rest of the his crew here is kind of convinced it's not Mark for their own personal reasons. But yeah, this particular Moon Knight, there's like I said, there's still a lot of mystery of who it is. He's all in black. He doesn't like the team that Mark previously worked with in the last run because it's filled with monsters and former villains and whatever else. So yeah, very interesting to see how that's going to progress there. And I love the mystery part of it there. Dave Mattingly's in here. Got to bring him up. His comments as Vengeance of the Moon Knight continues to be great. I agree here. And he says he has 2 theories on who the Moon Knight might be. Please share. Yes, I would love to hear those theories, Dave. And good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit there. Mr. Mattingly's been enjoying newly married life, and so that's a very happy thing. Good, but yeah, good to have you back, Dave. Let's see here. Real quick to our DC stuff here. Batman number 143. This is still within the Chip Zdarsky's current run. This is a new storyline called Joker Year One. And the great thing about this is that we're getting a new Batman book a week. So last week was 142. This week 143. 144 will be next week. So fantastic series here. Really diving into kind of literally Joker's first year after the accident, kind of his change into the persona we know, basically leaving the Red Hood behind and kind of his former, who he was as a man, and transitioning into the Joker. Some interesting characters from Batman's past pop up here. Also, there's kind of a parallel storyline that seems to be kind of going on in the current modern day, where basically, Joker's kind of basically let off a serious, Joker toxin that has basically polluted the entire city. So like everybody around Batman, actually it's not a toxin, it's more of it's an audio trigger, but nonetheless, the entire city's Joker. And so Batman is trying to cure an entire city and stop Joker all at once. But for some reason, Joker seems to be much more powerful or whatever else. So there's a lot of questions about what's going on in the modern day. But yeah, really, really awesome stuff here. So yeah, we shall see about that. Seth's got a question on here. Are they still doing the 3 Jokers thing, or did that die off? No, still doing it. Matter of fact, I think one of those 2 Jokers may be dead. The Joker series, The Man Who Stopped Laughing, which I think was like a 12-issue series that just ended, that addresses the 3 Jokers, and one Joker in particular was making copies. Like he was basically making fake Jokers. And they were popping up dead or being used for jobs and kind of used as patsies or whatever else. So one of the 3 Jokers had a problem with the other Joker making copies. So that's kind of what the Man Who Stopped Laughing series is about. So yes, it wholeheartedly addresses the fact that yes, there are 3 Jokers. in the DC universe right now. 3 separate men who claim to be and are actually the Joker. And it's kind of different personas or different stages of the Joker. Kind of the classic goofy clown prince of crime, the Joker circa, the Killing Joke, when he basically shoots Barbara Gordon, that kind of era Joker. And then basically the Joker that's kind of a little bit kind of the new 52 era Joker and a little bit kind of current, where he seems to be very calm, very cool, extremely dangerous, and perhaps ancient, if that makes any sense. But yeah, he seems more like a demonic force than he does kind of the, sort of thing like that. It's like, this is a Joker we've never seen it on film before, and I don't think we want to. And one other DC pick here, the Black Label series, Batman City of Madness. This is the 3rd and final issue of this series here by Christian Ward. This was a fantastic Two-Face, Court of Owls usage storyline here, but also introducing us to kind of a Gotham beneath Gotham, essentially, that was created by kind of a persona that the courts and the original Arkham Asylum tenants inadvertently created. And so this kind of creature looks like a Cthulhu Batman here. This is that persona. And so basically you had literally Batman kind of working in conjunction with the court. Two-Face was used a little bit early on the series. But yeah, a very interesting storyline. Great kind of abstract, a little bit psychedelic painted art by Christian Ward. So yeah, really, really cool series. Kind of a sandbox series, doesn't necessarily exist within the regular Batman continuity there. So yeah, worth checking out there. Oh, Dave's got some comments here. All right, here we go. His theories on who the new Moon Knight should be here. And I'm very intrigued to see this because Dave, being a rather intelligent man, yes, but also a big Moon Knight fan. So let's check this out here. Theory 1, he's the idea of Mark Spector given form, like Stained Glass Scarlet was. That's an interesting theory. Okay, I like that one. Theory 2, he's the Shroud. Ooh, okay, bringing him back here. He's had dark force powers and had a history with Moon Knight. Yes, okay, I like that one. Number 3 here, obvious choice is Zodiac. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense because he was very widely used in the last series, and things kind of ended oddly between he and Mark. So, all right. He made a mental deal with the Midnight Mission. They might have had Moon Knight uploaded into his brain, a la Superior Spider-Man. Okay, so it's like a mixture of, basically the avatar essentially of, Moon Knight and, Mark Spector, but he's got Zodiac in there as well. So, okay. Interesting. Well, I'm not sure what about the deal with the Midnight Mission, because in issue 2 there, the mission doesn't like this Moon Knight. It kicked him out because this Midnight Mission essentially is, if you're not familiar with this, it's the building with which, everybody kind of works in, some live in and whatever else, and people who have problems come to Moon Knight with, kind of like almost like the Godfather sort of thing. Like they come and have a sit down with him in nice chairs, and they, he has kind of more of a formal, he dons the Mr. Knight gear from the Moon Knight series, where he's in the suit and just the regular mask, and basically people come to him with his issues there. But the building itself is an entity; it is alive, so it acts like a building, but it's capable of shape shifting, eating people if need be, or also just spitting them out, disposing of them, whatever sorts of thing like that. So it's a creature in itself. This particular Moon Knight tried to come into the Midnight Mission, taking over, kicking everybody out, and the building itself spitting him out. So not sure about the deal it made with the mission, though, but the theory that he could be also Zodiac, I like that. Yeah. Dave says the mission hates the new Moon Knight, which is, I think, the Shroud is the most likely. Yeah, it's a very good. That's interesting because, again, Shroud was also used in the last one. We haven't really seen much of him. So yeah, because it's that's the thing. The group is convinced it's definitely not Mark Spector. It's not their friend, and everybody's kind of got their own reasons as to why they think that, and all are very valid. So, but yeah, I do like the mystery angle, and then of course the upcoming. I'm trying to think of and it's a new Ghost Rider series. But I think it's called like Vengeance Forever. I think new series coming from that. Basically, we're getting a new writer. Johnny Blaze is getting either retiring from the role or he's being stripped of the writer's powers, whatever the case may be. But we're apparently getting a new writer. And so now there's going to be a mystery of who this person is. And it's someone we already know as Marvel fans. So I'm curious. So like I said, I love a good mystery when it comes to superhero stuff here. So I'm down with that. All right. Got a bunch of cool indies here. So let's start with Dark Horse's new Blue Book 1947. So, of course, if you remember the previous series with Blue Book, it is basically reports of alien encounters that people have had, and they reported them to the United States Air Force. And so these are basically the Blue Book is the literal accounts the Air Force has brought out and released of these happenings. The cool thing is the art is all in black, white, and blue here. So there you go. Check that out. James Tynion is the writer on here. Michael von Oming is the writer. Or, I'm sorry, is the artist on here. This particular storyline is literally about when the flying saucer term was coined, the first kind of sightings of quote unquote flying saucers shortly after World War II, and of course the the A bomb drop, all that sort of thing like that, and literally the craze that kind of went into the 1950s of flying saucers, men from outer space coming to Earth and visiting and abducting people and yada, yada, yada. So this takes place during that time period and those accounts. So it has a nice kind of cool, creepy alien feeling. But of course, these are factual accounts. Where this stuff, really happened. There's good, believable, credible sources here and the government's behind this. So there's got to be something to that. But yeah, very interesting stuff. If you like your alien books here, another series from that. A new one from CEX, and this is just a one shot here, kind of bridging the gap between year one and year two. But we get another 7 Years in Darkness. This is a one shot called The Shamir Worm. Nasty little bugger right there. So this is literally just one shot story here that involves Zero, one of the main students in the School of Magic here. If you're not familiar with 7 Years in Darkness, the CEX is a smaller publisher, which is actually located right here in Shelbyville, Kentucky. So a mere probably from where I am, maybe 30 minutes. So yeah, I've always wanted to visit there and kind of see if I can do like a walk around or talk to people there. I need to get on that, but that would be very interesting to me. But anyway, 7 Years in Darkness is literally their first big hit book here. They've printed a lot of other really good books, but this one's kind of the one everyone's really grabbing for here. Basically, the great pitch on this one here is this is the black metal Harry Potter. You've got a school of wizardry. You've got students or maybe contestants, should I say, because apparently only 7 will graduate from this school in 7 years. That's basically, they're all kind of in there for that time period to learn magic. But yeah, only 7 will graduate and also / survive. Everybody else, you don't get kicked out of this school. You basically, you become unalived. So, but yeah, this tells a mere tale about this worm and kind of how it relates to maybe this particular student named Zero, his legacy of, kind of almost like a birthright sort of thing. But yeah, interesting how this new story device is putting in here and how maybe it's going to relate into year 2, which is coming very soon. The solicitations are already out for a first issue of that. So yeah, I love it. But Joseph Schmalke does the art and the writing on it. It's got a very dark sort of feel to it, but yeah, it's still school of wizardry and witchcraft sort of thing like that. But yeah, it's much, much darker than your Harry Potter stuff like that. And yeah, it's an awesome book there. Next up here from Image Comics, we've got Creep Show. This is the one-shot Joe Hill's Wolverton Station. So this is a literal adaptation of Joe Hill's short story Wolverton Station, which basically tells of a kind of a rare film collector, big on like werewolf stuff, whatever else. And so he's apparently going to Wolverton Station via train to meet someone there for a basically a purchase of some rare memorabilia. And well, it let's just say it's not a pleasant train ride. It wouldn't be a creep show book if it was, but it's of course written by Joe Hill and Jason Caramella and Michael Walsh do the art in here. Of course, Michael Walsh loved his stuff from the Silver Coin series, but yeah, really fun stuff. If you like your werewolf creep show stuff here, highly recommend that. And of course, it is a one shot, so definitely check that out. Nice self-contained storyline here. Another couple of big books from Image Comics to talk about here. Transformers issue 5. Of course, our next entry into the Energon universe here, which I'm all in on all this stuff here. Yeah, that is Megatron's canon. And yeah, Optimus is currently in possession of it. And there's a lot of other really cool stuff that happens in this book. I don't want to spoil too terribly much for people who are still kind of getting into it and kind of catching up here. But for particular fans of a particular Decepticon that basically is 5 parts of, you know, 5 different people that become one particular large Decepticon, you're going to like this issue. And lastly here, this is The Deviant issue number 4. Yet another Tinian book. I told you, I love Tinian, guys. This one is fantastic. Of course, this is a story about a serial killer in the 1970s dressed as Santa Claus who would basically stalk homosexual men and kind of put them into basically Christmas-themed murder statues. We'll just call it that. Grisly stuff here, so definitely not for kids. And also, the story takes place in the modern day, which basically we have this young writer here who is interviewing the guy who was put in prison for those murders 30 years ago because he's basically wanting to write a comic book about it. He's, you know, I guess he did like other superhero stuff before, wanted to do something new and different, and feels a very personal connection to the story for some reason. Also, in the modern day, there's a copycat killer doing the same thing 30 years ago, dressing in a weird Santa Claus suit, chopping up homosexual men into weird murder statues in the modern day. And so the police are really kind of looking into this young writer and maybe how he connects to all this stuff here. So there's definitely a lot of, you know, mystery to it as well. A lot of, you know, gore sort of things. So it's kind of like, you know, if you remember the NBC Hannibal series, comparing it to that, definitely with a little bit more kind of a, you know, mystery intrigue, because we don't really know who's doing this sort of thing like that. And of course, we're flip-flopping from the 1970s into the modern day here. So yeah, interesting stuff there. Highly, highly recommend that. Of course, I mean, like I said, so far Tinian is firing on all cylinders. He hasn't had a series that has flopped or has been poorly received. So yeah, basically ever since he did Batman and Detective Comics, and then has now kind of moved into the indies and just killing it over there with Boom and Image Comics and Dark Horse and whatever else. I mean, yeah, hats off to him. Dave Medical's got a comment here. Says that he liked Project UFO, the series from the 1970s, which dramatized Project Blue Book stories. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one. Interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, like I say, just it's good old fashioned alien kind of, you know, intrigue, mystery sort of stuff like that. But yeah, I'm loving it. And of course, like the art style is just absolutely perfect with it. So, all right, we're going to take a short break here for our sponsor, Comic Books for Kids. When we come back, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into Marvel Studios Echo. So we'll be right back.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
All right, time for a deep dive now into Marvel Studios Echo, which, like I said, this is currently streaming on Disney Plus, or if you do the Hulu package, it's on Hulu now too. And they dropped all 5 episodes. So it's actually been out now for about 3 weeks now, I think. But they dropped all 5 episodes at once, which was very convenient because this is though she was introduced in the Hawkeye series, she is still a relatively new character. So it was probably smart for them to do that. But really cool stuff about the series. For one, it's you get a lot of representation of people who are deaf and hard of hearing, because there's a lot of American Sign Language that's used in this whole series. Basically, you see it in every episode because that's the way that Maya communicates. Pretty much everybody in her life, with one major exception, is able to sign when they're talking with her. So it's a lot of great positive representation on that. One interesting technological advancement, which we'll get to in just a little bit, with that as well. The other thing is that this entire series was produced with great input with the Choctaw Nation, because basically that's who Maya's character represents. While you get some flashbacks to New York, and stuff in the past, in Los Angeles as well. Pretty much everything in the modern day, in the current time period, takes place in Tamaha, Oklahoma. So that's basically where Maya is from. She, basically that's where, of course, where she grew up for the most part until maybe I think it was around 12 or so, when basically that was when her mother was killed in a car accident, and Dad was kind of blamed because maybe it may have been retaliation for some of his criminal activities. And so basically he and Maya go off to New York City. And then, of course, we kind of catch up with that from Hawkeye. We do get, in the first episode, a brief glimpse of her tangling with Daredevil, because we never actually saw that in the Daredevil series, because she wasn't introduced then. She was introduced later in Hawkeye. But yeah, so we do get to see Charlie Cox reprise Daredevil briefly in the first episode, having a brief fight with Echo, kind of as a flashback thing there. But yeah, that was pretty cool seeing that. And of course, Vincent D'Onofrio is all over this series here, because of course his heavy involvement with basically essentially raising Maya at different times. Not necessarily, but just being kind of an uncle to her, is guardian angel, so to speak. We see a lot of flashbacks, especially when Maya was a little girl, and we see a scene in New York City where she's kind of in a public school, trying to get ice cream from a street vendor. The vendor's not being very kind to her because of the fact that she's deaf and he can't understand what she's asking for. And so basically goes back empty-handed with nothing. Fisk sees all of this and proceeds to beat the life out of this ice cream vendor. This is kind of very early on in his career as Kingpin and whatever else. So he wasn't too necessarily worried about his appearance on the street or whatever else, but he was worried about if Maya saw him with all the blood and whatever else on him. And so literally he was calling for a new suit before he got back in the car with her, and it turns and there's Maya, who saw the whole thing. And then basically she proceeds to kind of kick this guy, a few times, whatever else. So he recognizes, the kind of the same fire and anger in her that he also has. And that definitely kind of comes into play later on in the series too. Talk about the ice cream mandate. That's just all flavors and push-ups too. Diamond Dave invoking Diamond Dave. That's okay. I like that tunnel. Thank you. I needed that one. Uh, Anywho, but yeah, so we get kind of, like I said, a lot of flashbacks going back and forth between this very fatherly kind of relationship that Fisk has with Echo, because he sees, again, kind of that same fire. So he trains her to fight or whatever else. So she obviously just becomes just a complete and total badass. The car accident that killed her mother is also the one that basically took her foot. So, like I said, if you remember her in Hawkeye, she's basically walking around basically with a prosthetic. The actress, Alakwa, is it Alakwa Cox? Yeah, Alakwa. Yeah, Alakwa Cox. That's she actually. That is her actual foot. There's no CGI or anything like that. Then she lost her foot. I'm not sure how in her real life, but yeah, so kind of perfect for the role there. So it kind of an interesting representation, kind of a threefold in this character here. Being indigenous, being Choctaw, and then being deaf, and then also with the prosthetic. So very interesting character kind of wrapped up in one, but it all works for her, and she's a very strong character, good performance. You really kind of see her flesh out a lot more than we got to see her in Hawkeye, so that's a really good sign for that. But yeah, I'm kind of an interesting thing with Echo is that in the comics when she was initially introduced, because she's was in the Brian Michael Bendis David Mack run of the book and was created by David Mack himself, who I've said it before, I've said it again. David Mack is literally the nicest guy in comics. If you ever get a chance to meet him at a con, just wonderful, wonderful, nice person here and a beautiful artist. So just, great guy. But anyway, he created the character. So this is kind of like very much a kind of a second Elektra sort of character, because this is another assassin, femme fatale sort of thing that Wilson Fisk basically, raises from a certain point, totally grooms to be his personal assassin, and then Daredevil basically gets to know this person, forms a relationship. He doesn't get so much of a romantic. There's kind of like a little initially kind of a hint of a romantic relationship when they first meet, but they're like, nah, it's not quite. It's more of kind of a friendship, respect sort of thing. So basically, Elektra will always be Daredevil's boo. So, but on the other hand, though, Echo does see, Fisk for as he actually is, and eventually becomes good. But she does have a turn there. Her abilities in the comics are exactly that of Taskmaster, where she can see someone do a physical feat and mimic that. So she can't mimic powers or anything like that. But if somebody can do a weird kick flip or something like that, she can just see it once and do the exact same thing. So when we're introduced to her in the comics, she's a ballerina. But she's also like a concert pianist and whatever else. So there's a lot of things about her. And of course, later on in the comics, I think she recently dropped it, but at one point, Echo was the host for the Phoenix entity that is most primarily known with Jean Grey from the X-Men. I believe the Phoenix went back to Jean. I'm not sure, but yeah. But Echo, for a period of time, was basically running around with a cosmic, being within her, and, coexisting and whatever else, because they liked each other and everything was hunky-dory. But yeah, so this version of Echo is much different in a lot of ways than what we've seen in the comics here. Oh, we've got some comments here from Mr. John Pica. Said they included the and the character because she already had a prosthetic leg. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they hired her because she was a good actress. Like, oh well, she's got a prosthetic leg. Yeah, now she's got that one. Yeah, so but you're right. That is not part of the original comic character. Yeah, and she's a much different member of the Avengers than three personas. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there's all kinds of different changes they've made to her in the MCU. One thing in particular that by the end of the series, she does get some sort of power, but it's not 100% clear what it actually is. The source of it basically comes from her ancestors because they frequently tell this story in the series that the story of the first Choctaw, basically there were these people that lived underground in caves. They were almost kind of like almost some kind of like gods of the earth, golems, sort of thing like that, because they had like a mud skin, sort of presence like that. But basically, they were gods that they presided, underneath whatever else. And then, literally, one day, the ceiling of their cave caves in. There's the sky. They come up to the earth. And once they basically kind of come up to the surface, this falls off and they have flesh underneath. And now they're human and they are the first Choctaw. So, from there, and then in several other points throughout history, Echo has all these women who are their ancestors, and they possess, bravery, cunning, strategy, courage, healing powers, empathy, sort of things like that. And so, of course, most primarily her own mother, who literally was a healer, like she had some sort of, magical healing ability that she would use, sparingly, but would still use for people. And so now Echo can, in times of need, can literally draw these abilities from her ancestors and from her own mother and use them kind of as superpowers, and then also apparently can share them with family and loved ones, because we see a scene in the last episode where she's literally sharing her super strength with her grandmother and then with her best friend, helping them out in a fight scene. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting, how they really changed this character's powers around and really kind of feed more into her indigenous background, as opposed to in the comics. They didn't really touch on that too much, but they've really leaned in that much more into the series here, and I'm interested with that. But yeah, we some of the other main cast here, we get kind of a uncle character of Henry Black Crow Lopez, who runs a skating rink, and also is somewhat involved in the fist crime stuff here, but seems to still be a good guy. Kind of is staying on the periphery of things here. Tries to keep Maya out of stuff, but knows that she's involved as well. That's played by Chasky Spencer. The grandmother I mentioned, her name is Chula, played by Tant Cardinal. She's awesome. She's a spitfire, let me tell you. Graham Greene, who I absolutely love, is Scully, who at one point was married to Chula, but apparently in the modern day they split up, but still is kind of a grandfather-like figure for Maya. He runs a pawn shop and kind of a Native American swag store, which kind of comes into a couple of good moments in the series as well here, because basically some stupid white people trying to show up and buy some authentic things, and he's basically just selling them garbage, and they're looking for like blankets and things like that. So it's it's some interesting stuff. But yeah, the store comes into play, and also Scully's ability to make things, to build things, to repair things. That comes into play a lot in the series here, especially when Maya needs a new leg, and she gets an upgrade. But yeah, so that's a really cool thing there. Maya's best friend Bonnie is played by Beverly Jacobs. She's got a cousin whose name is Biscuits, played by Cody Lightning. Then, of course, she likes some of the other actresses who play her ancestors. We've got Lowak, who's kind of more of the more cunning ancestor. We see a very interesting game of lacrosse being played, and Lowak ends up winning the day here. So that's Morningstar Angeline plays. That's who she plays. Danny McCallum plays Tupelo, I think is what her name is. That basically, this woman is the. Actually, no, she's not the first Choctaw. She's a light horseman, so kind of more of a Native American, Old West sort of setting there. And then her mother, Taloa, I believe her name is, Katarina Ziervogel. I probably butchered the heck out of that one. But yeah, so that's big. Like plays her mother. She is definitely a healer, and seems to be a rather, probably a much more important character we're going to lean into a lot more, because of again, her own mystic abilities that she had that now Maya can use. So yeah, very intrigued to see how that's going to happen here. Sorry, I've already seen that comment there. Dave Malley says that the Choctaw origin reminded him of the What If episode. Yeah, exactly, where we made can't remember her name is, but yeah, we get a new Native American character who basically has her own tesseract. Has a lot of cosmic powers here and comes to play in a couple of episodes. So yeah, interesting character there. But yeah, that origin was interesting. How they kept really kind of pushing that in there. So yeah, I think we maybe get some more Native American lore coming into the MCU. And I mean, there's only a handful of characters. And you've got Red Wolf. Obviously, we've got Thunderbird Warpath from the X-Men. Let's see, Mirage from the New Mutants. That's about the few people I can think of right now. So yeah, but yeah, so I'm intrigued to see how much more they're going to get into it. But yeah, again, it's great representation, and more people need that. So I'm good. I'm down with it. Dave Manley says Biscuits is his favorite new character. Yeah, he was definitely the comedic relief and very lovable. So, and Dave is also excited for Red Wolf. Yes, I would love it, especially not so much in the previous incarnation, but kind of how they last used him, where it was basically Red Wolf was displaced from the Wild West and brought into the modern day, and ended up kind of becoming kind of a detective hero for hire sort of thing like that, because he doesn't necessarily have any superpowers per se. I think he can kind of again can maybe kind of draw strength or speed or whatever else from his ancestors, sort of thing like that. But yeah, he's not really a superpowered sort of thing like that per se. But I like the idea of him being kind of a vigilante for indigenous people and his own nations and whatever else. So possibly getting Red Wolf into something later on would be cool. I'm down with that. But the innovation I was going to talk about, mentioned earlier. So I think it's in episode 3, where you get basically a face-off where basically Fisk has caught up to Maya. Maya is they're hinting around in the first few episodes of, is Fisk actually alive? We see that he is indeed, yes, he survived the shot to the face that we saw in the last episode of Hawkeye, where Maya shoots Kingpin on the street, point blank. She thinks he's dead. Nope, not that easy. So I thought he was, going to lose an eye, but as it turns out, he didn't. So yeah, but so we get this face off between Maya and Fisk. And Fisk just wants to talk, but what he ends up doing is restraining Maya, putting a contact lens into her, and then this contact lens basically shows a digital image of like ghost arms signing. So she can see anybody, just it kind of like almost like the contact lens reads lips and then signs what they're saying. And yeah, so it's a very interesting innovation, but once again, kind of nailing home the fact that basically all of Maya's family, the friends she grew up with, all these people in her life that she's kind of, kept at arm's length because of her, criminal ongoings, and basically hunt for Hawkeye and, vendetta, with him thinking that he was responsible for killing her dad when it was Wilson Fisk who was responsible for it instead. This whole vendetta she's had, and then now kind of avoiding, Fisk and his army and trying to stop what's left of it. She's avoided her whole family, but all of them know how to sign and communicate with her that way. Wilson, on the other hand, has never learned. He's always had an interpreter with him, and interestingly enough, he would dispose of said interpreters when he was finished with them in rather gruesome ways. So this new innovation basically is less killing of people. But yeah, I'm curious who made this for him. But yeah, Maya used it for about an episode and a half, and ends up throwing it away because, again, it's kind of that thing like, look, if you really loved me, if you really cared for me, as this fatherly uncle sort of relationship we have, you would have learned to sign a long time ago, and you never have. So, yeah, really kind of, nailing home really that's, Fisk is still just using her as a tool, whatever else. She's a very effective tool and his favorite one, but nonetheless still that. We get to the last episode, kind of skipping ahead here. We get a final confrontation, where Maya and Fisk literally are kind of having it out a little bit physically, but then Maya, using her new abilities, kind of entering Fisk's mind, taking him back to his childhood of, basically being his, trapped in his bedroom, upset, crying because he's hearing his parents in the next room, dad beating mom, arguing back and forth, that sort of thing like that, and all that rage and sadness and whatever else kind of building up. And of course, in his past, when he was, I think it was like 12 or 13, what the story is, basically he had a ball peen hammer and used that in killing his dad. So Maya, sitting there with him, kind of working through this sort of thing like that in an interesting way, removes this anger and this rage from Fisk. So now he still has all of his abilities, all of his memory, thing like that. Yeah, but now, like, all that anger that he's held for decades, that on occasion becomes very explosive, and he, beats the ever-loving, tar out of somebody, and bloody knuckles and all. Now that's gone. So he's kind of stunned, whatever else. We get, the series ends, Fisk, all of his people leave. He literally calls them all off, and everybody's like, okay, we're done fighting, I guess. The day is won, everybody's happy, yada, yada, yada. Interestingly enough, we don't lose any of our cast members. No one's sacrificed or anything like that. So Maya's, family unit is still intact. But now we've got kind of Fisk is like a bit of a crossroads. He gets on a plane to basically go back to New York. Doesn't know literally how to feel, what to do about anything. And then we get our stinger scene of him watching a newscast talking about the race for mayor for New York City, how there's not a clear contender and a clear front runner. So Willie gets an idea. And that's where we lead into Daredevil Born Again, which basically is going to combine a couple of storylines, I feel. The Fisk running for mayor and winning is a rather current storyline. So the Born Again, though, references an earlier storyline where basically Wilson Fisk finds out Daredevil's identity and basically publicly broadcasts it and tries to essentially bring him down. But what this does is basically kind of revitalizes, reinvigorates Daredevil, and then basically he and Willie have a knockdown, drag-out fight that is still epic in Daredevil lore. Is a fantastic storyline. Highly recommend checking that one out. On the other hand, though, there's going to be some, they gave us the good news that Deborah Van Wool, and I can't remember the actor who plays Foggy, but basically Karen Page and Foggy Nelson are returning to the Daredevil Born Again series. It was reported earlier they were not going to be involved, but now with the new people in charge and kind of the retooling of the series, they're back. But maybe this might be the storyline that kills off Karen. So we shall see. Let's see here. Dave has a comment who says, wouldn't it have been easier to have contact lenses that show subtitles? That's a good point too. Yeah, but maybe it's faster with sign language than it is to read subtitles. We'll see. Yes, Fisk has definitely been defanged, Dave. So yeah, we will see how this goes forward with how he operates with the criminal enterprises and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm intrigued with how the future for Wilson Fisk is going to be, and also how they're going to use Echo now, because she everything's hunky dory now, but she now goes kind of riding off into the sunset. She's got a fancy new outfit that also again speaks to her heritage of her ancestry, and kind of has all these like really cool like kind of half circles and bands across it that all represent all the women that she basically is drawing her powers from. So, again, it's a really unique, beautiful costume. She's got a new power set, new mission, that sort of thing like that. So we'll see where she lands later on, because I haven't heard any plans of where she's going to be used next. Obviously, she may show up in Daredevil Born Again. We'll see. But yeah, but again, just the whole cast, that the other family members that she's got really help round out. The skating rink is great, because you see sometimes where you get all the families and people being, because apparently there's not a lot to do in Tamaha, so the skating rink is still widely used in 2025. So that's where we are now, or are we still in 25, or maybe it's 26 now? But anyway, we're post end game, so now we're about a year or two ahead of ourselves. But yeah, so in the couple of years in the future in Tamaha, Oklahoma, that skating rink is still on fire, and they also have laser tag too. So, but in a couple other some fight scenes, other things like that, the skating rink is used very well. So yeah, just that I had a good time with that. But yeah, like I said, the series is real quick and easy to burn through. Your episodes usually run like, yeah, I think the shortest episode is maybe 35 minutes or something like that. Your only stinger scene is in the final episode. Like I said, the one with Fisk basically getting his idea to run for mayor. Yeah, that's your only stinger there. But yeah, so yeah, it's like I said, a very quick. Check out the series there. Good female empowerment series there too. I didn't feel like it was pandering or anything like that. I think it was, like I said, it was just good representation for Native American, Indigenous peoples, especially for the Choctaw Nation. We get to see a powwow in the last episode, so everybody's got their best duds on and all that kind of good stuff there, and big crowd of people, sort of thing like that. So I mean, it's just it's an enjoyable series. Like, so you get a good basis for a character, and they do say, I didn't mention this for the top, that this is for mature audiences, because there's some bloodshed involved and some violence, whatnot. Nothing on par with anything we haven't seen in the Daredevil and the Punisher series. We get so you see people shot in the head, you see bloodshed and punching and things like that. We're not talking like Terrifier 2 kind of stuff like that, but basically more than your usual Disney Plus series. So this is like a good precursor to what we could see in the upcoming Daredevil Born Again series, possibly a Punisher series in the near future, and anything else they want to do. So Disney can show like, okay, we can we got to put this tag on it and say it's mature audiences, and you got to put your settings on Disney Plus for mature audiences stuff to be able to watch the thing entirely. But we can actually do stuff like that. So yeah, I'm down with that. So again, I recommend checking it out. Like I said, it's a quick view. It's very uncertain what they're going to do with Echo from the from here. Like I said, I'm supposing, and it's very likely, she'll pop up in Daredevil Born Again, but that's not made entirely clear. But of course, we know exactly what Wilson Fisk is going to be doing in that series. D'Onofrio is definitely coming back for that. So yeah, I'm very intrigued with what's going to go down from there. I know, of course, with the Daredevil series, we're going to see Bullseye as well. He's coming back from season 3 of the Netflix series. So basically, if you guys haven't checked out the Daredevil Netflix series and its 3 seasons, I recommend giving that a look, especially with the events of the third series. Third season, Bullseye is introduced in that. We kind of get the new normal between, kind of where Fisk was, I guess, before the snap. I thought we would get more of a, since we were getting so much flashbacks and getting, kind of currently catching up with Wilson Fisk, what happened to him with the snap and the blip, with basically everybody coming back. Did he get dusted and then come back, or was it that he stayed, was able to rise to power, and then everybody coming back and then kind of having a bit of a gang war, and then basically we see him running around in Hawaiian shirts, not in fancy suits. So there were a lot of questions about some parts of Fisk that haven't been introduced just yet, kind of catching up to where we saw him at the beginning of Hawkeye, and sort of things like that. So there are still some questions about that. Maybe we'll see those in Born Again. But yeah, I'm still intrigued with definitely. I mean, D'Onofrio still just knocks it out of the park with his performance as Wilson Fisk. I mean, just hats off to him that I'm assuming he's got to have some kind of bodysuit, because I know like he lost a lot of weight years ago. I don't know if he's gained some of it back or what, but it's like, I mean, he's a tall guy and he's already a big dude, but like he's even bigger as Fisk. Like he's just, a literal juggernaut. So yeah, love it, love it, love it. Dave Manley says, violence in the ballpark of Netflix Marvel. Yes, exactly. Yeah, like so the Daredevil, the Punisher series, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, all that stuff. Yep. Even Iron Fist. Apparently they've talked about even might see some sort of revival of Iron Fist at one point. So God willing, we'll see. Dave says Jessica Jones is his favorite Netflix Marvel series, but Daredevil was a close second. I really loved the first season of Jessica Jones. I thought the second season dragged a little bit, but that first season of Jessica was fire. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Daredevil, I think, was great. Punisher was really, really well done. I think they probably could have done the Netflix was stuck on the 13 episode thing. I think they probably could have done it in fewer episodes than 13, but nonetheless, still a good series here. I love the trade off with Frank and with Microchip. So kind of a little bit different take on Microchip than from the comics, but nonetheless, I loved how it's done. But yeah, I like the series. I'm glad that Bernthal's coming back. We're definitely going to be seeing him in Born Again here. So yeah, like I said, it's worth checking out. It gives us a little bit of setup for Daredevil for next year. But yeah, I'm again not clear with Echo, very clear with Fisk of what's going to happen from there. So there you go, folks. So that's my take on Echo there. Again, worth checking out. 5 episodes on Disney Plus or Hulu, depending on whatever your streaming thing there is. So give it a look. Of course, What If is out for season 2. That's been out since December. If you guys haven't checked all that out, definitely check those others. Like 9 episodes that season. The Marvels is now streaming on Disney Plus. So you got all your MCU stuff for at least the last few months that's been out, all on there now. So basically, you got a lot of catching up to do if you haven't yet. Anywho, so we'll be off next week, and then we'll see what we come up with the week after that. But coming up, I believe, I can't remember my date book is here. Let's see. I got Carl Wilson coming up here. Yes, on March 29th here. So that episode coming up here, you get to introduce you to a new artist from this area if you're not already aware of it. But a fantastic artist. Does a lot of pencil drawings, a lot of painting as well. But I've got some of his art around here somewhere. I'll have to share it to you guys later. But yeah, it's kind of like it's pencil drawing stuff that looks like it should have been a painting or even a photograph in some cases there. But a lot of great nostalgia throwback stuff there. A lot of G.I. Joe, Kiss, a lot of other fun sci-fi fantasy stuff there. So we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about as well as his own art. So that's coming up on March 29th. I know we've got some more WrestleMania talk. So we're going to have Mr. Seth Manhammer back on here in the very near future to talk more road to WrestleMania or even talking post-WrestleMania stuff here because things are getting very spicy in the wrestling world here, both on camera and behind the camera. Yeah, right now it's hard to tell which one's better. But yeah, it is interesting times in the world of wrestling, but let me tell you. Anywho, you guys have yourself a wonderful weekend. Lots of fun stuff to do. Go check out, get out and do some things. Hopefully your weather's not too bad. It's kind of a little kind of crappy around here. It's getting rainy and cold again. Spring was awesome yesterday, and then now it's back to winter again. So there we go. Anywho, you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next time on the Fanatic Forum. Bye-bye.